Breaking overnight, Poland has shot down drones that breached its airspace during a Russian attack on western Ukraine. The Polish government is calling it an act of aggression. With NATO watching closely, this could mark a dangerous escalation. Let's unravel what happened, what's next, and how the US fits into this high-stakes moment. First, the facts on the incursion and Poland's response. Next, the political fallout in Warsaw and abroad. Then, NATO and US reactions. Finally, what this means for regional stability. According to Reuters, Poland's military command reported that over 10 drones repeatedly violated its airspace as Russia launched attacks across the border from western Ukraine. Polish radars tracked multiple objects, and those posing a threat were neutralized, some shot down. The government called an emergency council of ministers meeting at 8 a.m. local time to address the breach. This is the first time Poland has directly shot down drones in its airspace during this conflict. The Polish military urged residents of the Podlaskie, Mazowiecki, and Lublin regions to stay indoors, calling the event an act of aggression that posed real threat to civilians. Warsaw's Chopin Airport briefly closed its airspace, with airport operations delayed but later resumed. Authorities are now searching for crash sites where downed drones may have landed. In the U.S., Senator Dick Durbin warned that repeated drone incursions into NATO airspace are a danger signal, vital to national and allied defense. He said Putin is testing NATO's resolve. Representative Joe Wilson called it an act of war, urging President Trump to impose crippling sanctions on the Russian war machine. Trump, who hosted Putin recently, has hinted at intensifying sanctions. NATO itself has not yet publicly commented. This incident isn't isolated. Since 2022, there have been multiple drone airspace violations by Russia into Poland and Romania, but NATO allies avoided escalation. That restraint was partly to avoid full-scale conflict. This time, Poland's direct military response signals a shift, raising the stakes and potentially intensifying NATO obligations under Article 5. Ukraine's foreign minister, Andriy Sybiha, said these violations illustrate Putin's expanding war and his testing of Western resolve. He argued that if unchecked, these incursions will become more aggressive, possibly reaching deeper into Europe if Europe doesn't respond firmly now. With an emergency meeting already held, the next days are critical. Will Poland seek NATO support or invoke collective defense? How will allies respond diplomatically or militarily? Will NATO increase air patrols over its eastern flank? And will the U.S. pursue further sanctions, arms shipments, or forced deployments to deter future violations? For Americans, this incident matters because it tests NATO's credibility. Poland is America's ally, and if aggression against it goes unchecked, it undermines the entire NATO alliance and global order. Plus, our defense commitments and even military presence in Europe could be directly affected. To recap, Russian drones violated Polish airspace, were shot down, and Warsaw is treating it as aggression. NATO ties are being tested, U.S. lawmakers demand strong responses, and Europe is weighing its options. The question, will this be a turning point or another escalatory spiral? What do you think? Should NATO respond more forcefully? Could this incident trigger broader conflict or cement unity? Share your thoughts below. If you found this breakdown helpful, subscribe and tap the bell for updates on NATO, Europe, and global defense. See you next time.